This is the new Quanta lineup from Ronbus. 5 shapes, 16mm full foam EPP cores, and some interesting tech inside, which means there's a lot to unpack here. So, want to know more? Stick around and let's talk about it. What if I told you there's a paddle line that plays like a $200 plus premium foam paddle but costs under $100? And what if I said it only reaches its full potential when you add some weight to it? Let's talk about the all-new Ronbus Quanta series, a line that's been called the budget boomstick by some people, at least once properly weighted. I'm here with all 5 shapes from Ronbus's newest release. There's the R1 elongated with a curved top, the R2 standard wide body, the R3 elongated square head, the R4 hybrid shape, and the R5 standard with tapered corners. These are foam core power paddles that challenge the conventional wisdom about what you should expect at the $99 price point in terms of build quality and performance. Full disclosure here, Ronbus sent me these paddles to play and test with no strings attached. No money changed hands, and I'm not obligated to create content for them. And these are my honest impressions from extensive time with each shape. The retail price is $119, but you can get them for $99 with code MPB, which earns me a small kickback to continue creating content just like this. The central question isn't whether these are good paddles. This is already being called Paddle of the Year territory in the budget category for pure value. The real question is whether you're willing to do some customization work to unlock their full potential, because stock versus weighted, these play like very different paddles. Let's start with what makes them unique, because Ronbus has packed some interesting tech into this $99 package. Looking at the construction breakdown, you can see some thoughtful engineering choices here. At the core, you've got a full EPP foam center. That's the same material used in high-end premium paddles like the Selkirk Boomstik, Carbon True Foam, Butter Loco, and many others. This isn't a honeycomb or polymer core wrapped in foam, it's solid EPP throughout. Surrounding that core is an EVA ring around the top portion of the paddle. According to Ronbus, this EVA placement is designed to enhance power and pop specifically in the hitting zone where most shots make contact. The idea is that the properties of the denser EVA material allow it to store and release energy more efficiently than foam alone. In the lower throat corners, they've inserted TPE elastomer pieces. These softer, rubber-like pieces are meant to improve stability and dampen vibration, essentially trying to solve the twist weight issues that plague many lightweight paddles. It's a smart approach to a common problem in this weight category. Do they work? Well, it depends on how you define work. Do they improve the twist weight? Yes. Do they need some more help? I think so, and that's where weight on the sides helps a lot here. The edge construction gets some attention too. There's a carbon fiber grid wrapping the edge foam plus a carbon-wrapped edge tube at the throat and handle junction. The handle itself is carbon-wrapped EPP with hard pallets. This is an improvement over the soft, sort of oddly shaped handles that earlier Ronbus releases had. The face is raw Toray T700 carbon fiber with a coarse peel-ply texture. There's good grit here, which helps with spin generation. Testing shows spin numbers clustering around the 2,265 to 2,316 RPM, putting these paddles in the 74th to 94th percentile for spin production. That's solid bite for the price point. The entire construction is thermoformed rather than compression molded. That process fuses the edges and face together, giving the paddles a stiffer frame and a more durable, seamless finish. Each paddle is USAP certified, so you're tournament legal right out of the box. What's interesting about this tech package is how it targets specific weaknesses of budget foam paddles. The EVA ring addresses power concerns. The TPE inserts tackle stability issues. The carbon edge reinforcement prevents the handle separation problems that have plagued some foam paddles over time. But here's what the tech specs don't tell you. The construction seems optimized for customization. The way that the weight is distributed and responsiveness of the materials to added weight suggests Ronbus designed these expecting players to modify them. All 5 shapes use identical construction and materials. The only differences are the head dimensions and balance points that result from those shape changes. So let's talk specs because the numbers here paint a really clear picture of what these paddles are all about. Starting with static weight, every single Quanta falls between 7.61 to 7.71 ounces. These are extremely light paddles across the board, with the R5 being the lightest at 7.61 ounces and the R4 the heaviest at 7.71 ounces. Swing weight shows just how maneuverable these are. The R2 measures 102.2, the R5 at 103.45, the R4 at 103.85, the R1 at 107.7, and the R3 at 110.3. To put this in perspective, most power paddles fall between 115 to 125 swing weight, making these feather light by comparison. Now here's where it gets impressive. Power testing shows serve speeds ranging from 58.5 to 59.4 miles per hour across all shapes, putting them in the 75th to 90th percentile for serve speed. Punch volley speeds hit 38.4 to 38.7 miles per hour, landing in the 89th to 94th percentile for pot. Spin numbers cluster around the 2,265 to 2,316 RPM, placing them in the 74th to 94th percentile for spin generation. The firepower scores range from 83 to 90 across the line, with the R3 hitting the highest at 90 and the R4 at 83. These are legitimate power paddle numbers that compete with much more expensive options. When these paddles were announced at $99, I expected a control paddle, since Ronbus has the ripples in the power category and just launched the refoams as an all-court, so it only made sense for Quanta to fall into the control category, but boy was I wrong. Twist weight shows the main weaknesses in the design. The elongated shapes R1 and R3 both measure 5.6, the R4 hits 5.85, the R2 at 6.4, and the R5 at 6.08. These are low twist weight numbers across the board, which means more paddle twisting and stability issues on off-center hits. Balance points vary significantly by shape. The R1 at 24.9 centimeters is head-heavy, which tries to compensate for the light swing weight but can feel tougher to manage in quick exchanges. The R3 at 24.4 centimeters is moderately head-heavy but more manageable. The R2, R4, and R5 are balanced closer to neutral around 23.8 and 23.9 centimeters, making them feel more neutral and easier to maneuver through fast hand battles. Dimensionally, you've got real variety here. The elongated shapes R1 and R3 stretch to 16.5 inches respectively with 7.5 inch widths. The R4 hybrid compacts down to 16.25 inches long by 7.75 inches wide. The wide body options R2 and R5 both measure 16 by 8 inches. Handle specs are identical across the line. 5.5 inch length with 4.25 inch circumference and those improved hard pallets. The grip feels substantially better than earlier paddles like the Ripple Betas. What do these numbers mean on the court? The extremely low swing weights make these incredibly maneuverable and I think shoulder and arm friendly, but just note, I'm not a medical professional and I'm not giving medical advice. The low twist weights mean the sweet spot feels a bit smaller and somewhat unforgiving on stock paddles. The head-heavy balance on shapes like the R1 tries to compensate for the light swing weight by putting more mass in the hitting zone, but it's not enough to overcome the fundamental stability issues without adding weight. These measurements paint a clear picture. Ronbus has created paddles that prioritize maneuverability over stability, expecting players to dial in their preferred feel through strategic weight additions. I've spent time with all 5 shapes, both stock and with various weight configurations, and the transformation with added weight is remarkable. Let's talk about performance by shot category. On serves and big swings, the stock paddles have no trouble producing pace, but the feel is thin and a little hollow. You hear it in the contact. It's a higher pitched thud, and while the ball jumps off the face quickly, it doesn't drive through the court the way that some heavier paddles do. The light swing weight lets you whip the head fast, but you don't always get the full energy transfer. Add 15 grams strategically placed just above the Ronbus logo, and everything changes. The hollow thud transforms into a deeper one that's more similar to the Selkirk Boomstik in sound tests. Power jumps significantly. Side-by-side comparisons with weighted Quantas put them very close to Boomstik territory for baseline pace. We're talking about paddles that cost $200 less, performing within touching distance of the $200 to $300 power standard. Check out that live playtest here, and let me know what you think. The coarse peel-applied texture definitely grabs the ball, creating noticeable bite that helps with topspin and backspin dinks. You can feel the ball dig into the surface on drives, which makes it easier to swing through cleanly. Control and touch shots show where the stock versus weighted difference becomes most apparent. Unweighted, the edge drop-off is a bit harsh. Miss the center of the paddle on resets or drops, and the shot feels dead and a little uncontrollable. The combination of a low twist weight and light overall mass means off-center hits twist the paddle and can kill ball speed unpredictably. With weight added, the usable sweet spot expands dramatically. The added mass provides more consistent energy transfer across the larger area of the face, making resets and pace control much more manageable. That said, even weighted, these don't achieve the plush, forgiving feel of some premium foam paddles. There's still a relatively firm sensation compared to ultra-soft options, but control becomes very manageable with proper weighting. The light swing weights make these excellent for fast volleys and hand battles. All 5 shapes whip through fast exchanges with minimal effort. Stock, you'll notice some vibration on hard blocks, but the TPE throat inserts do provide noticeable dampening compared to other lightweight paddles. Stability on volleys improves dramatically with weight too. Stock paddles can twist noticeably on off-center blocks, but weighted versions hold their line much better. The 4.25-inch circumference is fairly standard, and the 5.5-inch length is more than enough for twoies. Arm comfort is excellent due to the lightweight, but some players sensitive to vibration might want additional dampening even beyond what the TPE inserts provide. The magic happens with weight addition. The most effective approach I found uses 1 gram per inch tape starting on the Ronbus logo on the sides of the paddle up towards the head and about 7.5 inches. Start with about 7 to 8 grams per side and adjust based on feel and performance. This basically creates your own MOI-style weighting and accomplishes several things. It increases twist weight for stability, adds swing weight for power and plow-through, and shifts the feel to more substance without making the paddle unwieldy. The top strengths are clear. Exceptional value when weighted, these play like paddles costing 2 to 3 times as much. Outstanding maneuverability even after weight additions keep them fast in hands paddles. Solid power generation once properly set up rivals much more expensive options. The main limitations are equally clear. Stock paddles feel more unforgiving and unstable on off-center hits. These require modification work to reach full potential, which isn't for everyone. Even weighted though, they still lack the premium plush feel of top-tier foam paddles. The bottom line on Playtest Impressions is simple. Unweighted, they're a bit unstable and somewhat unforgiving. Add tungsten tape and they transform, suddenly stable, more powerful, and comparable to $200 plus paddles. These are project paddles that reward tinkering. Ronbus offers 5 distinct head shapes in the Quanta line, and choosing between them comes down to your playing style and preferences. If you're looking for reach and court leverage, the elongated options are your best bet. The R1 features a curved top edge, but is a bit head-heavy, which can feel harder to manage in fast exchanges. The R3 with its square head design is the stronger of the two. The longer face extends the usable sweet spot and gives you more reach, while still playing more balanced than the R1 in my assessment. For maximum forgiveness and speed, go with the wide body options. Both the R2 and R5 offer nearly identical performance with the lowest swing weights in the line. The R2 uses a traditional rounded shape while the R5 has tapered lower corners. The playing differences are minimal, so choose based on aesthetics. Both provide excellent forgiveness in the wide body format. The hybrid R4 splits the difference and has become a top choice for the lot of players that I have let play this collection. It offers balanced proportions with ample handle space while maintaining excellent maneuverability and better twist resistance than the elongated options. Torn and need a recommendation? Start with the R4 for its versatility, or consider the R2 or R5 for their lighter weight and fast maneuverability. All 5 shapes benefit equally from weight customization, so your choice really comes down to whether you prioritize reach, forgiveness, or balanced performance. The most frequent comparison in testing was to the Selkirk Boomstik, and it's apt. Weighted Quantas produce remarkably similar power and sound characteristics to the Boomstik while costing $233 less. In sound tests, the sound signature was nearly indistinguishable. I think the Boomstik still edges out the Quanta slightly for peak power and has better stock playability, but the gap narrows significantly with proper Quanta weighting. Against the Ronbus Ripple V2, the Quanta fixes every single issue we've had with the Ripple. The Ripple V2 may hit harder stock, but it's heavier, less consistent, and harder to customize and control. The Quanta offers superior maneuverability and much better modification potential. The Butter Loco provides an interesting contrast. Both are power-oriented paddles, but the Loco delivers a stiffer, more predictable feel, while the Quanta requires weight to achieve its more effortless power delivery. Players who prefer immediate stock performance might lean toward the Loco, while tinkerers will appreciate the Quanta's customization potential. The Franklin C45 serves as a useful benchmark for light stock paddles where you'd add weight to unlock performance. In my experience, the stock Quanta plays significantly better than the stock C45 while offering similar weight customization benefits. In every comparison, the common thread is value. The Quanta delivers premium performance at a budget price point, assuming you're willing to customize. The Quanta line is built for players who don't mind customizing. Power players seeking Boomstik level performance without the $333 price tag will find about 95% of it here for a third of the cost. Tinkerers and gearheads are right at home too because few paddles respond to the added weight and fine-tuning as well as these do. If you're budget-minded, the value is hard to ignore. At $99 with code NPB, you're getting true power paddle performance, and the light swing weights make them especially appealing for people looking for a lighter swing. Even after weighting, they remain among the quickest paddles in the power category. But they're not for everyone. Out of the box, they can feel harsh and unstable, and even tuned, they don't reach the plush, forgiving feel of some top-tier paddles. If you already own and love a recent premium foam model, you don't need to switch. The Quanta story is about value and customization, not reinvention. The Quanta line retails at $119, but with code NPB, you can pick one up for $99. At that price, they sit against entry-level foam and mid-tier honeycomb paddles, yet Once tuned, they play in the same lane as models costing 2 to 3 times as much. If you're willing to spend $20 on tungsten tape and a half hour setting it up, you end up with a $200 plus level paddle for $100. If you want plug-and-play premium performance out of the box, you'll need to spend more. But for budget-minded players who don't mind tinkering, it's hard to find a better value. So that's it. That's the Ronbus Quanta series review. These paddles deliver legitimate power paddle performance at budget pricing, assuming you're willing to customize. They're not plug-and-play premium paddles, but they're an exceptional value that rewards some tinkering. Once personalized with weight to your liking, the Quantas punch well above their price point, earning those budget boomstick comparisons from testing. The R3 and R4 shapes stand out particularly well-balanced options for most players. Would you spend $99 on a paddle and another $20 on tungsten tape to match the performance of a $333 paddle? Let me know below. I'm curious if you're willing to tinker for that kind of value, or if you'd rather pay more for out-of-the-box performance. Remember, you can grab any Quanta shape for $99 using code MPB at ronbus.com. Link is in the description. If this review was helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.